Well, hello, everyone, and welcome here to Bedford. Nick Anastas, Steve Beals with you. It's FNL Gridiron here every Thursday at 6, presented by Beals Insurance. Week number 2, a lot to get to, a full recap of Week 1. We'll be joined by Roger Brown of the New Hampshire Football Report. Roger, of course, senior writer with the New Hampshire Union Leader as well, a friend of the program. He returns at 6:15. Bottom of hour number 1, we bring in the first of 4 head coaches. It'll be the Trinity Pioneers' Rob Cathcart at 6:30. I said 4 coaches. I lied. We've got 3 coaches and a player. Aidan Mcdonald, the standout senior for Salem, will join us. The running back scored 5 touchdowns for the Blue Devils in their Week 1 win over South. He joins the program at 6:45. Top of hour number 2, John Triciani Jr., the BG head coach, will join us. Cardinals, big Week 1 win and a big Week 2 test as they will host Salem. He joins us again at 7. And then finally, Paul Levine, a long time coach, head coach, assistant coach, organizer, good football guy. He's now the head man at Interlakes. They'll take on Trinity on Friday night, and we will close out the show with Coach Levine. Some thoughts on the passing of Sam Cunningham to wrap up the show as well. So, Steve, as usual, a jam-packed schedule here in the second ever edition of FNL Gridiron.
Well, first of all, Nick, Ben, on behalf of Ben, our director, and I would like to thank you and John for doing what you did this weekend. You guys had an incredible task of getting the both of those games off, and you guys did it, and all the players and parents and school systems were able to enjoy it. The numbers certainly lead that out, so thank you for that. It wasn't easy, I know, and you guys just did a fantastic job. As far as the season's concerned, I think we're seeing the beginnings of a kind of a 50-50 stratification in Division I, where you're getting about 8 teams that are kind of differentiate themselves first week. Doesn't mean it's going to stay that way, because seasons can go up and down, injuries can come into play.
Sure.
But we could certainly go over those teams, Nick. But I think we've got that. There's some mid-range teams of maybe 9, 10, and 11 that are just maybe they didn't have a good week this week, but you can see when you look in the skeleton, the bones of the team, there's some good stuff going on. They're just a little bit behind as far as practice schedule. If they could could emerge and make it exciting. In the years that you and I have, that I've been able to work with you, Nick, and cover the games, I haven't seen as many teams that I could say outside of Salem this week and that has the tools to come on and compete in the end and surprise some people. So Salem certainly looks to me like they're out in front at this point, but they got some people biting on their heels that they're going to have to face for other seasons. It's going to be exciting. Really.
Yeah. Salem lived up to the billing for sure.
They did.
62 points in a road victory over Nashua South. We mentioned Aidan Mcdonald, a big part of that. 5 overall touchdowns, including 1 on special teams, an 86-yard touchdown on a kickoff in that first half. He ends up with over 200 yards on the ground. Again, he'll join us at 6:45. And again, programming note, we will see Salem on Saturday night, part of our 2-game weekend coverage here on Friday Night Lights. New Hampshire will be back at Stello Stadium in the Gate City of Nashua as BG will host Salem Week 2 on Saturday night. That's the 6:30 kick. We'll be there. And, of course, Friday, we get a look at Trinity as they host Interlakes, 2 Division III powers. That game will kick off at 7. Our coverage kicks off at 6:45. So, again, Interlakes at Trinity Friday night, and then it's Salem at BG on Saturday. Both games come your way live and only on Friday Night Lights, New Hampshire, in full 1080 HD. Some D1 scores from Week 1. As you mentioned, Steve, some standouts here, especially along the Seacoast. That's a strong conference, the East, so to speak, D1 East, looking impressive. Dover, a big win at home over Memorial, 40-6 was that final score. Portsmouth, just as impressive over Central, 42-6 in that one. Let's see, Winnicott, big second half, big third quarter in particular for the Warriors as they down Bedford 30-13. And, well, the only winner in the North was Concord. They beat Spalding 21-0 on their home turf in the capital city. We also saw Exeter down Goffstown 37-14, a final score there. North, the defending champs, they get it done. Big second half. They pull away from Alvern in Hudson 25-6. Londonderry, they look as ferocious as ever. No problem with Merrimack on the road in week 1, 35-6. And BG on the road, a big win over Keene, 34-13. Those were all the Friday night Division I scores. And, of course, as you mentioned, we were in Wyndham on Saturday. Pinkerton almost blanked the Jaguars 33-0, but Wyndham scored on the final play of the game to crack the scoreboard and make it 33-6. So those are your 10 final scores from week 1, Steve. Where do you want to start?
Oh, boy, that's a lot of content. Why don't we start at the top look at that, where you ended there with Pinkerton. I mean, Pinkerton essentially had their number 2s in when they scored the touchdown, so it's kind of an unofficial, if you don't call it a shutout, it was pretty dominant. It looked to me like Wyndham's defense was doing a pretty decent job. They seemed like up to the task, but they were out there constantly. And there was some the offense looked like it struggled a little bit. I'm sure Coach Byrne has got the guys, got the films, review it. They got some good athletes, as he said with us last week on that team.
Right.
I expect that he'll put some, work with those pieces and bring them together. Pinkerton looked very strong. Coach O'Reilly did not kid me the other night. You could tell by how he looked. He knows he's got a good football team
right.
here. And those guys, Nick, looked, for not playing for so long, those guys played with poise, confidence, skill, and there seems to be, when the guys are off the field, you see there's a ton of coaching, individual coaching coming off. They're going to be ramped up. That's good. That the games against Salem and Londonderry and are going to be phenomenal. To me, they just look very solid. The Bedford game and the Winnicott game, I watched that on film, and it was fairly close through the whole first half. But
right.
Winnicott's strength, depth, and seemed to me adjustments in game plan kind of pulled away from Bedford, and they got some big first downs when they needed it. And their 3 phases of their game, just like Bedford, looked good, but Winnicott just looked deep and strong, ready to roll. But we can go through some more. That's just the 2 teams that I saw. Winnicott and Pinkerton and Salem seem to be really have the machine running.
And of course, you got to mention Exeter, a perennial power.
Dover.
They had at one point a 34-0 lead over Goffstown before closing out the Grizzlies 37-14. Exeter, of course, a team that really reloads year in and year out under longtime head coach Bill Ball.
And then great feeder system, too.
Great
Tremendous.
feeder system, just a good football town, good football program. And it looks like at 21, a good football team at Exeter once again. And then Portsmouth, as we talked about, the numbers are back up. We'll hopefully see them sooner rather than later. Wink, wink. They'll be taking on Bedford next week. Again, no problem with Central in week number 1, 42-6. So again, the power structure, more or less, seems like East may be the deepest of the 4 conferences in Division I. But don't tell that to
don't tell that to Bedford.
Don't tell that to Bedford.
No
don't
way.
tell that to Pinkerton. To your point, obviously Salem, the 2 Nashua schools, the 3 Nashua schools. So there is a real parity in Division I, as you talked about, and over the next few weeks we may start to see some of that separation.
I think one of those teams you got to figure out, a little bit concerning after week 1 in the Jamboree. I'm very interested to see what Goffstown does next week. I don't care who they're playing. I'm really looking, are they going to play that typical Goffstown attitude football that they can play? Interesting that we haven't brought them up. That doesn't happen very many years. So we'll watch what they do. But as far as the North is concerned, I wouldn't, if I was Bedford, I wouldn't be, that Bedford-Dover game is going to be a good game to watch. And I think as you come out of the Bedford-Dover game, if that winds up in overtime or within a touchdown or something like that, I'm not sure you're going to learn much from that other than they're just 2 great football teams.
Sure.
But if somebody comes out and dominates that game, Nick, then at that point there's further stratification where you begin to get that separation that the good teams are looking for.
Yeah. Yep. Londonderry, again, a big win. We talked about them, the 2019 champs. Of course, still had a pretty successful season, truncated season last year.
Coach Lozon's rebuilding year,
if you want to brand it as such.
He can take a rebuilding team, make them a winner really quick.
Yeah, they got it done 35-6 against Merrimack, so looking impressive there. And then, of course, BG, who caught our attention during the Jamboree, how well they played. They had a big second half on the road at Keene to put away the Blackbirds. Again, 34-13. We'll speak with third-year head coach John Triciani Jr. coming up at 7 o'clock. But it seems like they've got a ground game for the first time in a little while with a seasoned offensive line that can consistently run the football. Seems to be the story there offensively.
All those years that Tony Johnson coached that team, and to a certain extent, went to from Milford. Travis Cody, thank you, Steve, for the memory. Travis Cody, when they there was a running game was part of the BG experience. I mean, that was part of their game plan. They always were willing to pass the ball, but they always had a solid running game. Then, the coaching staff that came in after that and had some great receivers and had an excellent quarterback for 2 or 3 years, and they were able to pass the ball. But eventually, BG and John Triciani, because he's finally got an offensive line that can match up at the D1 level this year. It certainly appeared in the Jamboree, and they did well the other night. At that point, Coach Triciani's in a much better place. I want to really give him a lot of credit because he's a patient coach. For being as young as he is, very patient, it keeps things very reasonable, on cue. Don't get ahead of your skis, but don't count us out. And he's been very patient developing the attitude of that football team. And if they can get back in their winning ways, they got a good running back. They've got a quarterback that's going to be dangerous. Every time he goes back, if there's nobody open, he's a threat because you have to cover their receivers. They're going to be interesting to watch. This is a big test for them this week. I look at BG probably doing a fairly decent job staying in the first half. What's really going to be the question is what can they do with the third and fourth quarter against a very good Salem program.
Yeah, Salem going to give them a test for sure. Aidan Mcdonald and company coming back to Stello Stadium after beating South in Week 1. They will take on BG. Will be there against Saturday at 6:30. And then, of course, some of the teams that caught an L in Week 1. Bedford, who looked pretty strong a couple of weeks back at the Jamboree. Nashua South did some good things. And did in
the first half. Like I said, Bedford looked strong in the first half of that game. Looked pretty, looked like somewhat of parity, but just couldn't match up. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
But there's talent, size, experience on that roster, as we know. It wouldn't surprise me if they got it together sooner rather than later, came back maybe with a win this week over Dover. And then, of course, Nashua South, as we talked about. A lot of good things that we saw with Coach Knight's group, including that seasoned offensive line, seemed to move the football pretty consistently against a tough Salem defense.
Yeah, so you're talking about South. Okay, yes. Very well coached team. They ran into some cramping problems. There was 3 players that I saw that had cramps, and at unfortunate times, but Campos a load. I mean, he brings it when they've get all healthy. It didn't look to me, I don't know what you thought, when that game on Friday night that we did, it looked to me like everybody was going to be okay. Banged up a little bit, had some cramps and some other minor injuries, but haven't seen the injury report. But they're going to be better off this week as of facing the number 1 contender right now in Salem last week. They're going to go into this week, and I'm sure that Coach Knight had a lot of film that he could review with a lot of areas for improvement. And as we know, Coach Knight will get that done. But he's got a good cast of characters, and to your point, Nick, a very solid offensive line. Yep.
Well, one way to watch the film, you can watch it on our channel, right? The archives. We've got Friday night's game on the channel. Of course, if you're new to us, we're on YouTube at FNLNH Media. Hit the subscribe button. You can check out all of our live broadcasts, plus the archives from games past, including that game that produced, 98
points.
Straight, 98 combined, points in Salem's win over Nashua.
Against very good defenses on both sides. That's a feat.
Coming up, the first of our guests, Roger Brown, one of those in the know when it comes to football circles across the state. He's the founder of the New Hampshire Football Report, and he joins us next live from the practice field in Exeter. Only on FNL Gridiron. You're watching it right here on Friday Night Lights, New Hampshire. It's presented by Beals Insurance.
Our broadcast today, as it always is brought to you by Beals Insurance Agency, with locations now in both Bedford and Londonderry. Whether you need home, auto, or business insurance, Beals Insurance will get you both the price and quality coverage that's right for you. Just call 603-471-9999 or visit BealsInsurance.com to request a free quote and start saving money today. Again, that's BealsInsurance.com. Is your company interested in showcasing your brand to thousands of high school sports fans across New Hampshire? If not, why not? And if so, let's go. Friday Night Lights New Hampshire is seeking sponsorship partners. It's the perfect way for your company to get out in front of the moms and dads who make up our community. Help us help you, and we can grow together. If you're interested in partnering with Friday Night Lights New Hampshire, then email us at fnlnhmedia@gmail.com. That's fnlnhmedia@gmail.com. Join our team today.
Back here on the FNLNH Gridiron Show, FNL Gridiron for short. Nick and Ask This, Steve Beals with you. It's presented by Beals Insurance. We're live from the Beals Insurance Studios in Bedford.
If Coach Cameron calls it FNL Lacrosse, we got to call this FNL Gridiron, right?
I like it. I love it. We've got Rob Cathcart coming up in about 15 minutes. The Trinity head coach, Aidan Mcdonald, senior star for Salem, joins us at 6:45. Hour 2, John Triciani Jr. at the top of the hour. Paul Levine of Interlakes at about 7:15. Coach Trish, of course, from Bishop Girton. Programming note, Friday night, we're in the Queen City. Trinity will host Interlakes at 7. We'll be on the air at 6:45, only on our YouTube channel, of course, FNLNH Media. Saturday, we're back in Nashua as BG will host Salem at 6:30. Joining us now from his house, he's back from practice. And now he's joining us from his home in Exeter. It's our friend Roger Brown, the founder of the New Hampshire Football Report. Waving hello. And joining us now, Roger, of course, also a senior writer at the New Hampshire Union Leader. Roger, good evening.
How are we, gentlemen? The rain kind of changed the schedule, the practice schedule over at Exeter today, so happy to be able to join you.
Oh, it's great having you.
Inside and dry, right, Roger?
That's right. That's right. Hopefully it's outside and dry tomorrow.
Right. Well, we should be getting some good weather,
Good
I
weather's
think.
coming, yeah.
Let's start, Roger, with Pinkerton. Taking on Wyndham. Of course, the Astros season last year cut short due to the COVID-19 situation. They only played 3 games. They won 2 of them. They were not still around once the tournament kicked off. So in a lot of ways, they're back on the field. Some of those younger players for the first time at the varsity level. There's a lot of seniors, particularly on defense, that seem to make plays. They've got size up front. Where does Pinkerton fall in the Division I hierarchy in your mind after just 1 week?
That's a good question, Nick. And I think I'd put them either 4 or 5 in the power poll. You know, it's just tough. You got to figure they're going to be good, right? Because they're Pinkerton. They seem to be, you know, building momentum last season. I saw their first game. They seem to be getting better the 2 games that followed that when the season got cut short. So I haven't laid eyes on them yet, but, you know, you got to figure they're going to be in the top handful of teams, top 5, maybe higher. A little early to say just how good they're going to be, but I expect them to be right up there with just about everybody else that's at the top of the division.
Well, let's start at the top of that power poll where Salem, really a lot of off-season buzz. That was tempered a little bit based on the fact they lost in the 2-quarter jamboree matchup against Bedford, but then came out swinging Friday night. We were there in the Gate City. They put up 62 points. Aidan Mcdonald, over 200 yards and 5 touchdowns. I would assume that's as good of a team at this point in the early season as you've seen, correct?
Well, that's another tough question. I mean, Would it kind of looked awful good to me, you know, for their style of football. It's not flashy. It's similar to what Exeter does. They're big and physical, so I'd put them in that group. Hard to not take notice of what Exeter did to Goffstown. But Salem, you know, really deep at running back. Of course, you know, they took a blow when Dante Fernandez was ruled ineligible. who, that'd be another big play running back for them and somebody who would have really helped a young defense.
Oh, yeah.
But I think they can overcome his loss. You saw what Aidan did Friday. They have other running backs. If they had to lose a player, running back is probably their deepest position. So I think they'll be okay. But, yeah, I expect Salem to be there in the end as well. I think they're going to be, as good as anybody this season.
Well, let's build on Exeter. You brought them up. They obviously were impressive. They had a shutout on the board most of the way against Goffstown before the Grizzlies managed to put up a couple of scores there late. But 37-14, a win for Exeter over Goffstown. Impressive any way you slice it. Give us a little bit of a feel about the Blue Hawks, because Steve and I haven't had a chance yet to see them, but we did see the score. We know the program. We know the history. We know Coach Ball. It doesn't come as a surprise that they're right back in that contender mix here again in 21.
Yeah, it looks like those old Exeter teams that were, back in Division II days were challenging BG for the title every year, it seemed like. Or, maybe even in their early Division I days, the teams that were battling Pinkerton. It's a lot of new faces from last year. They got some, a quality senior class, but a really, really good junior class. So I would expect, Exeter to be as good, if not better, next year than whatever they end up being this season. They're a tough matchup week one. I just feel like they're ahead of most teams week one just because of the system they run and the kids are so familiar with it. And, you could tell from the Jamboree that Goffstown's, hasn't gelled yet. I think they'll be fine. There's just too much talent on that roster for them not to be. I just think Goffstown caught Exeter at the wrong time from the Goffstown perspective. But Exeter looked awful good. They're playing hard on defense, disciplined football, multiple running backs who can hurt you. Of course, they don't throw much, but they can throw. They got a quarterback, Aidan McGinley, who can put it in the air if he has to. They got a good mix of talent. And I know Peyton Strickland gets, a lot of attention, deservedly so. But Exeter has a tight end, Ryan Graney, who is right up there with the best in the state. Big kid, good hands. And he gives them a weapon in the passing game if they do want to put the ball in the air. So that Exeter Winnicott game, it's always, a bit of a bloodbath, but this year maybe more so than usual, week 4.
Yeah. You kind of touched on Goffstown. There's 3 teams I just wanted to just get your thoughts on, Roger. Let's start there, continue with Goffstown for a second. I was surprised to see what I saw with the BG game in the Jamboree, but like we always say, you got to be careful reading too much into the Jamboree. I then watched the Exeter game, watched the full game on film, and I have to say that some of that same feeling about what happened in the Jamboree continued. What is it that you say? What is it they got to do? What's not right? What's going wrong with them right now? What do they have to do? In your mind?
I didn't see the Exeter game, but they looked disinterested to me at the Jamboree. They didn't have the energy that BG did. Now, I don't know if that was the case Friday. Again, that's not exactly, when you're trying to piece things together and build your team, Exeter makes that tough when you got them on the schedule week 1. They can make you look awful bad.
Yes.
So, I just think, they have talent. I'm familiar with the roster, so I'm confident they have as much talent as anybody in the state. Just got to put it together. Just got to mesh, I guess. Do
you think it could be the quarterback not quite developed yet, but yet developing? He's in the process. He's a 6'7" tall man, seems to have pretty decent vision down the field, and he seems comfortable with Strickland. Even when he throws it in traffic, Strickland comes up with the ball. I've seen some areas where he's done very, very well, but it looks like there's some developmental things that need to gel and needs to get some time. What do you agree with that, or what?
Yeah, sure. I mean, whenever you got a new quarterback in there, there's an adjustment period for sure.
He's got potential.
They have an injury at the running back position that they've been trying to figure that out. I'm not sure when Empoyo will be back, but he'll certainly help them. That's a team that, you hear it, you want to improve week to week, and they certainly have a lot of room to improve week to week.
Right.
I mean, by mid-season, they could be a whole heck of a lot better than they looked, in the Jamboree or week one. So unless they throw, 3 or 4 clunkers in a row,
they can hang in there
that they're
and
going
develop.
To be a factor at the end.
Yeah. Okay. The other two teams, just real briefly, how good is Dover? And then you I kind of agreed with you at the beginning of the season that Memorial looked like they had some potential for a good season. What's going on with Memorial? What do they have to do? Because if you look at the skeleton, Nick and I were talking earlier, if you look at the skeleton of that team, there's some good stuff there. And so what are your thoughts on those two teams?
Yeah, Dover, great quarterback, Lopez Sullivan, and a terrific defensive player, too. I think he plays safety. And people forget, they finished ahead of Exeter and Winnicott in an abbreviated season last year. Coach Kumba said that this was a group that was going to be good right when he took over. He thought last year and this year would be good years for them. So, that East is going to be tough. It looks like a really, really tough conference just based on the early results. So I would expect them to be right there with Winnicott and Exeter. Memorial just devastated by injuries. I wrote a little bit about them for in Friday's Union Leader. They lost Kai Colson, a 4-year starter at running back, or would have been a 4-year starter. They lost a tight end. They lost an offensive lineman. 3 key players already before the week 1 game. And they were good, and I based that on I thought they had some elite talent in certain positions, but they were never deep. So they don't have guys who can step in and replace these players necessarily. Or, maybe they have Eric Seymour to move into the running back spot, but it's just going to weaken them somewhere else. So the depth just isn't there for Memorial, which is kind of sad because I do think if they were healthy, this could have been a really good year for them.
Yeah.
Possible playoff team, certainly giving teams tough games week to week, which has not been the case with Memorial football for a long time.
Right, I agree.
All right, Roger, one more. Where are you going to be this weekend, and how can folks find your material?
Let's see. Tomorrow night, I'm at Memorial, see Portsmouth Memorial game. Interested to see Portsmouth Oyster River. That was one of the surprising scores to me from week 1. And then I'll be at the Goffstown game against Central on Saturday. And, of course, everything will be in the Union Leader and do a lot for the website, nhfootballreport.com. We'll have picks on the weekend games up in about an hour. So predictions on every weekend game. Been a lot of changes to the schedule already this weekend, guys. So I would advise people to double check and make sure the games are being played on the day and the time that it was originally scheduled. And we've already had one game canceled as well. So check your schedules before you head out to your local game.
Can you clue us in on that, Roger? Which game was canceled?
Kearsarge, Monadnock game has been canceled.
Okay.
COVID situation over at Kearsarge.
Yeah. Any adjustments in Division I, or are they pretty much all going on time?
I think D1 is
pretty solid.
As far as I know, is as originally scheduled. Somersworth moved their game to. They'll be playing at St. Thomas. The Somersworth I think it's Somersworth Newfound game, 3:00. I'm assuming they just want to get on turf. And then there was a game tonight that got postponed. The Merrimack Valley Joan Stark will be played tomorrow night instead.
Okay.
Well, that's why we get you on here, Roger. You're always in the know, and we appreciate it as usual. Thank you, sir. And again, best of luck moving forward with, I guess, for everybody, right? We're all still kind of navigating our way through these COVID-19 waters, so we appreciate the update for sure. And thanks again, Roger, for coming on.
You look good on TV,
all
Roger.
Right, guys.
Look great on TV. I'm glad you were able to do the video because it just adds value. You know what I mean?
Well, I got to be better than Lozon, right?
Jimmy hasn't been on video yet, but I'm sure Right, Nick? You'll be getting him on.
Yeah, we'll talk to Jimmy for sure.
We'll send you an email if you don't already subscribe. We'll send you an email when Jimmy's going to be on.
There you go.
Can you take questions? Can I call in with questions that night?
I don't know. Our tech guy, Ben Beals, he sent his thumbs up in the studio there, so I think we can.
Okay,
Sounds like a good old crossfire debate in the making, for sure.
Exactly.
All right, Roger, thank you again, and we'll talk again down the road.
Hey, guys.
Thanks, Roger.
Thank you. Roger Browner, founder of the New Hampshire Football Report. NHFootballReport.com is his website, and again, loaded with stuff, features, interviews, stats, schedules, the whole 9 yards, so be sure to check out Roger and subscribe. Speaking of subscribe to our channel, FNLNH Media. We're on YouTube. You don't want to miss a thing. We are going all out this fall. Preview show here on FNL Gridiron Thursday nights, Friday night game of the week, Saturday night game of the week. It's all coming your way this fall, and it's only on Friday Night Lights, New Hampshire. Again, the channel FNLNH Media on YouTube. Quick break. On the other side, Rob Cathcart of Trinity, the Pioneers in the hunt again for a Division III title. Pioneers, big win in Week 1, big game in Week 2. We'll be there on Friday night. Coach Cathcart joins us next. Do not move. You're watching FNL Gridiron. It's right here on Friday Night Lights, New Hampshire, and it's presented by Beals Insurance.
Our broadcast today, as it always is brought to you by Beals Insurance Agency, with locations now in both Bedford and Londonderry. Whether you need home, auto, or business insurance, Beals Insurance will get you both the price and quality coverage that's right for you. Just call 603-471-9999 or visit BealsInsurance.com to request a free quote and start saving money today. Again, that's BealsInsurance.com. Is your company interested in showcasing your brand to thousands of high school sports fans across New Hampshire? If not, why not? And if so, let's go. Friday Night Lights New Hampshire is seeking sponsorship partners. It's the perfect way for your company to get out in front of the moms and dads who make up our community. Help us help you, and we can grow together. If you're interested in partnering with Friday Night Lights New Hampshire, then email us at fnlnhmedia@gmail.com. That's fnlnhmedia@gmail.com. Join our team today.
Back here in the Beals Insurance Studios in Bedford, Nick Anastas. Steve Beals with you, FNL Gridiron, every Thursday at 6. You can check out the archives on our YouTube channel, FNLNH Media. We thank Roger Brown for joining us. Roger, of course, of the New Hampshire Football Report. We've got Aidan Mcdonald, the star senior for Salem, coming up at 6:45. Big win for the Blue Devils, a big win in Week 1, and a big performance by Aidan Mcdonald. We'll talk about that. John Triciani, top of hour number 2 of BG. Paul Levine of Interlakes at 7:15. But right now, Trinity's coach is on with us. That's Rob Cathcart joining us now. There he is. Coach, good evening, and thanks for joining us here on FNL Gridiron. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Good. We're good. Your season got off to a bang. A big win in week number 1. Your team looked strong in the Queen City Jamboree a couple of weeks ago. Steve and I were there, and now you're faced with a big Week 2 matchup, or as big as an early season matchup, I guess, can get, against Interlakes on Friday night. Give me the pulse of the program here so far, how the good start has seemingly affected your squad. What do you get to work with? Give me the overall, I guess, state of the union when it comes to Trinity Pioneer football here in 2021.
We're pretty young this year, so the bulk of the strength of our team are sophomores, and then we have a strong freshman group as well. We only have a couple of juniors, and we had a small number of seniors, but then when we started off with a good start, as you said, we had a few guys come out late, so some of the seniors wanted to get in on the action for their senior year, so that's good because the maturity helps with the depth and a few other things. But the bulk is young, and we kind of saw it as a young group, and we'll see how we mature as the season goes.
What are some of those challenges, Coach, when the majority of the roster are underclassmen? What additional challenges does that present for you and your staff?
Yeah, you don't have that experience to build on, so everything that they're doing is new to them. They're new to varsity football. They're new to the competition. They did do a good job last year. A lot of them with the JV schedule. We did have some of them played some varsity football, but a senior we do have that's just very vital, who has been there, is James Tebow. He was part of our championship season a couple of years ago, and he started as a sophomore. He's a senior now, so he's been there, and he's shown a lot of good leadership trying to help get the younger guys up to speed. And then we also have a senior that kicks for us, Silas Delgadillo, who was our kicker last year, and he's a scrappy kid who plays some other positions too. So he's a good leader as well.
Tell me a little bit more about Tebow, Coach. He's obviously the younger brother of John Tebow, originally from Newport, been in Manchester for the last few years, but it seems like you've got him lined up at some different spots, asking him to do a little bit of everything. At least that's what it looked like
very
to
versatile.
me. Right, a versatile player that you can really employ anywhere, right?
He's a little bit different than John was. John was a pretty explosive kid and a very rare kid. James has his own brand of football that he's going to bring to the table. He's going to knock you down. He's just a very, very good linebacker. He'll tackle you and let you know you're in a football game. And then on offense, he'll run the ball well between the tackles. He also does a good job blocking for us as well. So he's a strong all-around kid, as you said.
And then it looks like you got a lefty quarterback as well in Jack Service as we take a look at some of those highlights from the Queen City Jamboree. Tell me a little bit more about Jack and what he brings to the table under center.
Yeah, Jack is really a very good player who has dedicated himself to football year-round, and it's shown. We actually thought another one of John and James's brothers, Paul, was probably going to be our starting quarterback this year. Paul's a terrific athlete and does start for us at a running back spot. That was kind of changed by the dedication that Jack had in the off season. He wanted to find out what he could do in the off season, and anything I gave him as things that he could try and ways that he could improve, he was all over it. And then he showed up, and he was there for every single 7v7 session we had over the course of the summer and preseason, went to the 7v7 tournament, and then was there all through the camp we had with Londonderry. So just his dedication and his love of the sport really has just helped propel him up and helped him take advantage of some natural athleticism that he has.
Coach, want to compliment you on the whoever's doing the play calling. We were able to see it in the Jamboree for only a half, but boy, it was working that play action at just the right time, looking for that stack into the box. Great play calling, and Jack Service seems to be extremely dialed into what's going on the sidelines and his mechanics. You just answered a whole bunch of my questions already, and one of them was his mechanics are so solid. His vision down the field looks good. You've said he really worked hard for over the last year. You can see that on the field. But play calling, who's making those play calls? Shout out to them. And is this the type of, you going to work off that play action for the big plays in the future in the year, or is there another offensive set that you have in the bag as well? Because I know you do some spread as well.
Yeah, we want to run the football. That's what we want to do. I do call the O.
Great job.
Well, thanks. It's something we want to do is run the ball between the tackles and move the chains. We want to emphasize that. And then you're right, that does open up some play action passes. I think in the past that's always something we've tried to do, and everybody wants to do that. And all too often you're good at running the ball, but then the play action passes are a little bit difficult to execute. But the execution that Jack's had so far has been very good, very clean. And I've been doing this for a while, not as long as Paul Levine, who we have to go against this week. Jack is as good a young sophomore quarterback in his first trial by fire as I've had.
Yeah, he looks solid, really solid. Yeah. Let's talk about that new field complex you got down there. I drove down there, I think it was about a month and a half ago, and I had come back from Florida for an extended vacation, which I enjoyed, so I took a ride. I was going down by Mammoth Road there, and I drove up. I could not believe what I saw. It was fabulous. How has that been as far as advancing the Trinity football program, which has a very rich history? Is that as well as what you're putting together there, helping out getting players to come out?
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is a terrific facility. It came along a couple of years ago to coincide with our championship run, and it is. You're right. You drive down there and you feel like you're on a part of a college campus, and it's a college field. It really kind of has that feel to it.
It really does.
Yeah, and so it is a nice draw. It is nice for the kids to get out there and play on it, and we really enjoy it, and we enjoy defending it.
Yeah, you're able to practice on that field during the week, I imagine, as well, right? So I would assume, no?
No, it's like anything else. If you want to put a lot of traffic on it, we try to be a little careful with it because
Judicious,
you don't want to smash down all those little black pellets too fast, but you want to keep the field in nice shape. We practice most of the time up above in the old Trinity grass field, and that's where we'll do most of our practices. We will occasionally get down there for a pregame practice, or if we're playing a team that week on a night game, I'll occasionally ask our athletic director, Mike Cannell, if we can get on there to have a practice under the lights. So we do on occasion get to do that, but it's not a regular course of habit for us.
Well, we can't wait to come tomorrow night to put a multi-camera set on that field and get some great action. Winnisquam coming your way tomorrow night. We'll be there. Paul Levine and crew are coming south on the bus. What do you expect from that matchup tomorrow night, Coach?
Yeah, they're really a terrific team. A big change over a couple of years ago when we played them. Paul's just done a terrific job. You can see his fingerprints all over them. They do a good job. I feel like it's my high school offense. He's got that eye going and does a nice job with it.
Yeah.
And so you got to try to defend good old-fashioned USC football because he's coming at you with it. And then they have a nice defense, defensive concept. So they'll be there to play.
Well, you got a nice program going on there too, Coach, and you seem very comfortable on the sidelines there with what you're doing. A lot of interaction back and forth between the kids coming off the sidelines with some of your assistants, I noticed, and some coaches who've been there for decades by your side as well. So we look forward to a good matchup, and I'll hand it back over to Nick. Best of luck to you.
Yeah, thank you, Coach, for joining us. We'll see you on Friday night, and we appreciate the time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
You bet.
Thank you. And again, Trinity head coach Rob Cathcart. Pioneers hosting Interlakes at 7 o'clock Friday night. We'll be there. Coverage beginning about 6:45 Eastern. Saturday, of course, we're back in Nashua as BG will host Salem. What do you think there, Steve?
Well, I think that he's found Coach Cathcart was, of course, at Pembroke as well. BG before that. I think he's found a nice, comfortable place for his style of football that he wants to put in. And I'll tell you, and I mean what I said. He had I think it was 4 play-action pass calls that couldn't have been called at a better time. And there was 7, 8.
2 of them were touchdowns.
2 of them were touchdowns, and 2 others were gains, solid gains. And Service has been practicing those well, hides the ball well. But there's a lot good going on there at Trinity, and I'll tell you, Trinity, Winnisquam, I'm looking forward to that game, and I look down at the Trinity schedule for the rest of the year between the Pelhams and the other. There's some good ball games coming up, and he's got that team rolling, and the beauty is he's got a lot of young ball players that are going to get mature over the next few years, Nick.
Good point. In the hunt for their second Division III championship in 3 years. All right, short break. We're back with Aidan Mcdonald. Lit the world on fire Friday night. 5 touchdowns for Salem. They put up 62 points in a win over Nashua South. He joins us next. You're watching FNL Gridiron. It's right here on Friday Night Lights, New Hampshire. It's presented by Beals Insurance.
Our broadcast today, as it always is brought to you by Beals Insurance Agency, with locations now in both Bedford and Londonderry. Whether you need home, auto, or business insurance, Beals Insurance will get you both the price and quality coverage that's right for you. Just call 603-471-9999 or visit BealsInsurance.com to request a free quote and start saving money today. Again, that's BealsInsurance.com. Is your company interested in showcasing your brand to thousands of high school sports fans across New Hampshire? If not, why not? And if so, let's go. Friday Night Lights New Hampshire is seeking sponsorship partners. It's the perfect way for your company to get out in front of the moms and dads who make up our community. Help us help you, and we can grow together. If you're interested in partnering with Friday Night Lights New Hampshire, then email us at FNLNHmedia@gmail.com. That's FNLNHmedia@gmail.com. Join our team today.
It's FNL Gridiron here on Friday Night Lights New Hampshire. It's presented by Beals Insurance. We're live Thursdays at 6. Can't make the show, it's okay. The archives are up on our YouTube channel. Check them out for free at any time. Subscribe for free as well. Again, Friday Night Lights New Hampshire on YouTube at FNLNH Media. We thank Roger Brown for jumping on. Trinity head coach Roger Cathcart as well. John Triciani coming up in about 15 minutes. The third-year BG head coach Paul Levine, longtime head coach at a number of stops across the state. He's now the head man at Interlakes. He will round out the show at 7:15. Right now, Salem senior Aidan Mcdonald joins us here on FNL Gridiron. There he is, fresh off a 5-touchdown performance in Salem's victory on Friday night. Aidan, good evening. How are you?
Good evening. How you doing?
We're good. Your team looked very good against Nashua South, in that 62-36 victory. Your squad seemingly hit the ground running in week one, in particular the offense with the 62-point outburst. What do you contribute that to in a nutshell, how well you guys played Friday night, particularly when you had the football?
You know, it was really good. I mean, we had a slow first half going, but it wasn't that bad. I mean, in the second half we locked it up pretty well, but I think our offensive linemen should get a shout because they did a phenomenal job blocking, you know. When they're blocking,
I'm underlining their names right now. I'm underlining your offensive names right now. I couldn't agree with you more, Aidan. Sorry to interrupt, buddy.
No, you good. But the way they blocked, you know, it just makes our running backs' jobs way easier, you know.
A true professional answer there. A team player answer
Absolutely.
for sure, given credit. But how about yourself? How did you get ready for this season? Obviously, your name rang some bells last year as a junior. You guys had success, went to the semifinals, and you're one of the key guys, obviously, on the squad. But how did you take your game to the next level over this last summer, getting ready for your senior season?
Well, most importantly, it came first with the weight room, right? In there 3 days a week, lifting really hard. And, you know, one thing that's really important is, you know, unfortunately, like, the phrase work hard has become like such a cliche, but if you take that really serious, like our team did, and especially me personally, you know, you see a lot of improvement, and so far it's turning out pretty well.
Yeah. It seems like you got a good group of seniors, right, at some of the key positions, a strong class overall. You've played with those guys growing up through the Salem program. Take us inside that locker room. Who besides yourself are some of those leaders, some of the guys in leadership spots, some of the seniors that the rest of the guys look up to? How would you break down that kind of leadership hierarchy, so to speak, in the locker room?
Our seniors, I mean, we've been with each other since, like, the second grade, most of us. And so we've become very tight-knit, and especially, like, the captains right now, me, Tommy, Damian, Caleb, Noah, right? But when we're in the locker room and stuff, I mean, it gets pretty, I mean, obviously we can, joke around and stuff, but when we're getting out to the practice field, there's no more joking around. It's time to be serious and get better,
Your head coach, I'd imagine, has a lot to do with setting that up, right? Making sure that his guys are focused. Second-year head man, obviously, Coach Abraham, excuse me. What's your relationship like with Coach? He's a young guy. Seems like a player's coach. From the outside looking in, would seem like my kind of guy to play for. What's your relationship personally with Coach Abraham?
I mean, especially, I'm just going to broad this out for a minute, especially as seniors, we're lucky because he came in our 8th grade year and coached with us, so we're all very close with him. And it's funny because, like, we'll be in practice and, obviously if we're doing stuff wrong, he'll get mad and stuff, but, like, all of us players know when, like, we need to, like, step up our game or correct what we did wrong, right? And we can just see it in his eyes or his facial expressions. We just kind of, like, we know, like, oh, okay, now we got to turn it on and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, that's one thing he told us last week was that the relationship is advanced to the point where a lot of the nonverbal communication is now commonplace, right? Isn't have to say anything. It's just a quick glance, and seemingly everybody's on the same page, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of funny because it happens almost every single day. And so, it's kind of like a thing we all just adapted to. And it's like, it's hard to explain. It's one of those things that you just know. It's like, it just clicks and then it's time to go or it's time to not go and focus up,
Aidan, congratulations so far. We loved watching you last year as well. Seeing you coming back this year, no doubt you have been in the weight room and it was a successful run along with your other great teammates as well. One of the things I wanted to kind of talk to you about is when I watch you run, you almost make, first of all, your offensive line does a terrific job of allowing you to accelerate and get that first, second, and third step and stride through the line. But I want to talk about, and they deserve credit for that, but once you get through the line, you almost make, it looks to me like there's a switch that has two options. One is, there's nothing there, so I'm going to go through them and bowl them over. And you seem to almost enjoy it with your action after you get up from the ball. The other one is a terrific, and I hope college recruiters are looking, a terrific sidestep and then an accelerating upfield. Did that just come from the good Lord himself, or is that something that coaching or trained over time? Because it's really terrific to watch which decision you make, and 99% of the time it's the right one.
I mean, yeah, it's like that's one of those skills that we did work on in the off season a lot, and especially with like personal trainers and stuff, we'll do a lot of those type of running back drills, like figure eights, jump cuts, stick steps and stuff. But sometimes it's like you gotta know. It's one of those things. It's hard to explain, but sometimes you gotta know when you just gotta go north and hit it as hard as you can, or you're like, oh, if I do this little cut right here, it sets up a better block or a better angle, so you get more yardage. So.
Yeah, it just comes to you it seems to come very easy, and it's fun to watch. Well, let's talk about your quarterback, Mustafa. I watched this kid the first time, and Nick and I went down to the Haverhill-Londonderry, the game in Haverhill against Londonderry a couple years ago, and we saw him because, was it Jake, was it Clement? What was his name? No, your quarterback number 8. Yeah, he got injured, and Mustafa got in there because the backup guy was injured. And Nick and I were talking during that game. He is not afraid of anything. He's a tough customer. Seemed to be, I said, how's he ever going to make it being that, he's short. He's not that tall. But boy, I'll tell you, for that offense, he just does a terrific job. What can you say about him in the locker room? And as a younger fella, he's been a great addition. What do you think about? What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, Noah, he's an awesome leader, probably the best leader on the team. Well, he's QB, you expect that, but seriously, out on the field and off the field, he's super nice, he's constructive, and he always does the right thing, right? But especially back on the field, like you look at him, you're like, oh, this little 5'2" kid. He was
exactly.
He's fearless. He was just going full speed. He goes down the sideline, all the blocker, lowers his shoulder, and bounces right back up, and he's next play. That's what I love about him. No, he's awesome.
Let's go to the defense. Last quick question.
Yep.
Let's talk about the defense, Aidan, yourself as well as your teammates. It seems to be a swarm-style defense that as soon as the guys on the backside that aren't necessarily directly going to make the tackle, I've been watching the backside, are sprinting with perfect angles to be part of it. There seems to be a team defense approach that swarms. But it all starts, I don't mean to swell your head or anything, but it all starts with you. They use you like almost like a torpedo to go after the play, and you do a terrific job at it. So I don't know where, I assume you want to play in college. I don't know where you want to play on D, or all the coaches, I guess, will decide that. But do you have a favorite, and what can you say about your defense against the top teams coming up?
You talking about college favorite or what?
No, I'm talking about what do you like playing better, offense or defense?
Oh, I mean, that's pretty hard for me. I mean, I love offense, but defense is something else. When you can just full sprint into a blocker and just blow them up, it's really something else. Even though I perform better in offense sometimes, or last game, but defense is probably where I'm going to have to end up playing in college most likely.
What's the team you're looking forward to coming up and playing the most, other than this? Obviously, they got a game ahead of you, but when you look down that schedule, who you got your eyes on?
I mean, I never really looked at it like that. We've always looked at it. We kind of brainwashed to look at it one week at a time. We're 0-0 right now. We got to get 1-0 this week. The next week we're 0-0. We got to get 1-0 this week, and we always look at it one step at a time. We don't look ahead that much.
Yep.
But coaches will go do whatever they're doing, they're scouting or whatever. But we're very focused. One at a time. We don't care who it is. We're just gonna do our very best and always try to do our techniques and everything perfectly correct.
Well, stay healthy this year, because we love watching you and the whole team there. And I wish the best. I'll hand it back to Nick, but a joy to watch, Aidan. And now having you in the studio, you can see why you're a great football player.
Yeah, well, just one more from me, Aidan. You talked a little bit about looking to play at the next level next year, looking to play college football. What can you tell us about that recruiting process, if anything? And also, what do you like to do off the field? Tell me a little bit more about the student-athlete side of Aidan Mcdonald.
I mean, as far as the recruiting process and stuff, I mean, during the summer, we went to so many camps. I mean, it was kind of crazy. It was like every other day or every week, right? And then doing that, but trying to stay in the weight room and not try to put on some weight and stuff. So that was a challenge, but so far there's no specific college that I'm really I want to go here. But, I'm keeping my options open, waiting for any opportunities that might come across. But, that's what I'm looking forward to. And outside activities and stuff, I mean, I'm a 17-year-old kid. I mean, I do normal stuff, video games, studying, all that stuff, watching football,
Staying out of trouble, of course, as well. That's the key, for sure.
Yep.
All right, Aidan, good luck. We'll see you down there in Nashua again on Saturday. We'll be doing your game against BG. And if you give us half the show that you gave us in week one, I think we'll leave as happy customers for sure. So we appreciate you coming on, and best of luck moving forward this season. Thanks again.
Good luck, Aidan.
Right, thank you.
And again, Aidan Mcdonald. You can see why. Obviously, physically, he's got some gifts. He's put in a lot of work. He's bulked up, but terrific character, it seems like, as well. A good kid with a good head on his shoulders.
All of those things, but if I was going to coin one phrase, intensity. He's intense. He's intense about when he talks. He's intense about his delivery. When you ask him a question, the intensity button goes on. I need to think about this and answer the question directly. He's everything you want in a football player, a teammate, and he's clearly a coach's player. You can have a bad week coaching, and Aidan can make you look real good, and because he's prepared every single game. We've seen that last year, Nick. We've seen it this year. So this is the most exciting part. Gives me the biggest smile of all, is to see what these kids are getting out of football and how it's going to propel them to success in life, and Aidan is going to be in front of the line for that.
He's one of the standout players in the state for sure.
Any college would be smart.
That was my next point. I'd imagine
special.
there'd be a legit sweepstakes.
Yeah. Smart to keep
in
his
the
options
upcoming
open.
weeks and months
Yeah,
to
I
try
agree.
and get his services next year for
Yep,
sure.
I agree, Nick.
Salem looking good, a 62-36 win in Week 1 on the road at Nashua South. They return to Sello Stadium on Saturday night to take on BG. That's a 6:30 start. We'll be on the air at about 6:15 Eastern with the live play-by-play coverage of that one. Of course, that follows our Friday night broadcast from Manchester when Interlakes takes on Trinity at 7. Hour 1 in the books. John Triciani kicks off hour number 2, the third-year BG head coach. What can he come up with game plan-wise to pull off the upset against Salem? We'll ask Coach that next. You're watching FNL Gridiron. It's presented by Beals Insurance.
Our broadcast today, as it always is brought to you by Beals Insurance Agency, with locations now in both Bedford and Londonderry. Whether you need home, auto, or business insurance, Beals Insurance will get you both the price and quality coverage that's right for you. Just call 603-471-9999 or visit BealsInsurance.com to request a free quote and start saving money today. Again, that's BealsInsurance.com. Is your company interested in showcasing your brand to thousands of high school sports fans across New Hampshire? If not, why not? And if so, let's go. Friday Night Lights New Hampshire is seeking sponsorship partners. It's the perfect way for your company to get out in front of the moms and dads who make up our community. Help us help you, and we can grow together. If you're interested in partnering with Friday Night Lights New Hampshire, then email us at fnlnhmedia@gmail.com. That's fnlnhmedia@gmail.com. Join our team today.
It's FNL Gridiron here on Friday Night Lights New Hampshire. We're on weekly Thursday nights to preview the upcoming week in high school football. Every Thursday at 6 Eastern here on Friday Night Lights New Hampshire. Subscribe to the channel for free if you have not done so already. We're on YouTube at FNLNH Media. Again, on YouTube at FNLNH Media. Doubleheader coming up Friday and Saturday. Interlakes at Trinity at 7 Friday night. We're there at 6:45. And then Saturday, Salem at BG for a 6:30 kickoff. Our coverage begins at 6:15. We appreciate Roger Brown of the New Hampshire Football Report leading off the show with us. Rob Cathcart, good stuff, the Trinity head man. Aidan Mcdonald, you heard from him a moment ago, the Salem standout. We got Paul Levine already on hold, ready to join us in about 15 minutes or so from Interlakes. But right now, John Triciani Jr., the third-year head coach at Bishop Girton, joins us now live from Nashua, from the man cave, it looks like. Coach, good evening. How are you?
Awesome. How are you guys?
Is that the
Great,
man
John.
cave down there, or is that
Yeah.
your living room?
I'm actually in Manchester, down in the basement. I'm pretty much relegated to the downstairs when I'm at home. I just got married. So it's pretty much my spot.
In the basement. We like it.
You got it.
Coach, you got to be pleased with the way this season has gone so far, right? Your team looked good in an unofficial capacity in the Manchester Jamboree a couple of weeks back. You have a big second half to blow open a game against Keene and win that one convincingly. And now you return home for the first time this season against Salem. Talk a little bit about the last couple of weeks, and has this team met your expectations, at least early on so far?
Yeah, I'd say so far so good. You know, it's kind of a strange thing where we play, those 9 regular season games. So it kind of sounds, weird for a person to say, well, it's a long season, but, we're really just at the beginning. I'd say, thus far it probably couldn't have gone much better than it has. But we know, each week is a new week, and playing Salem here is, the top of the power poll, that Union Leader power poll for a reason. And I saw him on film, and you just like, wow, that kid Mcdonald, what he was able to do last week, and just how they play football year in and year out, even if, there's a coaching change in there, the tradition that they have. So it's a challenge. So we're just trying to take it week by week and day by day. But thus far, pretty good start.
Yeah. Well, while we're talking about Salem, I guess we'll stick with it. How do you go about trying to come up with a game plan to defend a player like Aidan Mcdonald? It's got to be even harder to implicate that, right? I know it's not easier said than done in this because it doesn't sound easy. I know that. But how do you go about getting your staff on the same page and then ultimately your team on the same page, trying to contain a talent like Mcdonald?
Right. So you try to evaluate the other team the best you can once you exchange film, and you try to look for a weakness. I can tell you that I don't see one. So you kind of try to line up first, try to make sure you're sound on defense, and then try to find a way to attack them on offense. It's not going to be easy. Obviously, all the points that they scored week one, it doesn't take a genius to say, hey, we got to probably slow the game down. If they score 60 points on us, it's not going to go very well. So I'd say that's it, trying to run the football. And then you always try to slow them down, try to eliminate any big plays. Obviously, they had a special teams touchdown early on in their game against South, so want to try to eliminate any issues on special teams. Hopefully we tackle well, get to the ball. We try to, preach to the kids to be physical on defense, and thus far that's what they've done. But I don't necessarily have an answer. Hopefully, we could win a turnover battle here and there, get some breaks, but it's going to be a very difficult opponent for sure.
You mentioned the time of possession, trying to hold on to the ball, keep that explosive offense off the field, etc. You can do that, it seems like, now with a sizable running game, an improved running game behind a solid offensive line. Is this that best group you've coached so far up front during your time at BG?
I'd say it's definitely a different group. Usually when I think of BG football, the last, this is my fourth year as a head coach, and then a few years there as an assistant beforehand, it's always been a lot of speed. There's been a lot of kids at the skill positions. So I'd say, this year, obviously we have a lot of guys returning on the offensive line. It's a little more focused on the run game. I wouldn't necessarily say it's the best group just because it's so early. And we had a real good group a couple years ago where we were able to go 6-3. So it's just a different group, but every year the coaches try to evaluate their teams and then figure out what do you do well, right? And then really try to focus on that. So for us, it's different this year, running the ball more than maybe in years past.
You got a signal caller that's a junior, Matt Sanasuazo, good all-around athlete. We saw him on the hardwood during basketball season for the Cardinals. Seems like a natural-born football player with a high IQ. How important has he been on both sides of the football here so far for you?
Yeah, he's been really good. He started for us last year on defense as a safety, and then he started as a receiver. His brother was a quarterback. And then obviously this year his brother graduated, and he's made that transition to quarterback. And you don't have to be the smartest person in the world to realize, it's not a bad idea to have your best player touch the ball every snap. So I can't speak enough about him as far as, how tough Matt is. He's not playing one side of the ball. He's playing both ways. He's on special teams. He returns punts and kicks for us. We joked within the last week, he's really valuable. Should we take him off a kick return? And originally that's what we thought. And I talked to him on the side a couple times and again today, and he wants to return kicks. So we're probably let him return kicks. He's just a tough kid. And I think when you talk about football players in general, one of the most, impressive things or biggest compliment a coach can give a kid, regardless of what his skill set is he a tough kid? And Matt is. I think, he impressed a lot of people thus far running the ball on offense. I think he's arguably, maybe the best safety in New Hampshire. And I would argue that with anybody. Just his instincts and how he tackles. He's a great kid too.
Coach, watching the last 4 years, I think I mean this in a positive way. I think your patience has been phenomenal of knowing how to keep guys at BG interested in football. There were some games that you went in there, you were kind of understaffed, and as far as player concerned, as far as age, and everything else, and you were able to keep the guys interested. And now all of a sudden, the maturity of that program you could see. And I tell you, I was sitting at that jamboree up there with Nick, and those guys just came out and started swarming, and I every single player was unintimidated in the least. It wasn't intimidated in the least, and was just firing. You could see that on the defense. I said, wow. And then you see the offensive line there. Talk about that group a little bit. To me, this is the first time that I've seen an offensive line that looks to me that has the size and weight and maturity and development that you've been able to put in these guys to play Division I football. Your thoughts on that group?
Yeah, I think first of all, with these opponents, I try to be as honest with these kids as possible.
Right.
So they knew, I think, what to expect against Goffstown. We try to be honest with them about what to expect with Keene and what to expect with Salem, and we want to control what we can control, which is oftentimes flying around and being physical and trying to get to the ball, and that's when good things happen. As far as the offensive line goes, we return. I would say all 5 kids started games last year. We really only lost one starter from a year ago. They're big kids. They lift in the off season. Some of them wrestle. They're all a little bit different, but they have experience working together and communicating, which is big. There's a bunch of juniors, a couple seniors. So overall, it's a good group. They're very coachable. And I think just from last year, they have a little bit of confidence. A lot of what high school football is just playing with confidence. And when you can do that, you start kind of buying in a little bit, and then maybe you're, dictating some of the play instead of being so reactionary or hesitant. So it's big, and everybody knows. We could talk about the quarterback all day. We could talk about running backs. The games are won in the offensive and defensive line. And anybody that knows about football will tell you that. You can look at the Super Bowl last year. Everybody talks about the skill guys and about Brady, and the game was won up front. So, they're important, and they do a good job, and we just try to coach them up the best we can.
I do want to talk about a running back, Vance. He really impressed me. He seems to have an excellent instinct in regards to straddling the line as he goes down the line, and he seems to understand blocks developing at points of attack, and then he turns that shoulder and knifes upfield. Very impressive. He's just seemed such a factor in that game, and he just makes San Asuazo that much better. Talk about Vance to us. When did this start? I mean, has he always been this way? He looked solid the other day.
Yeah, he's another kid who we love, who's just a real good kid. He's real coachable. From a running back standpoint, I think a year later, his vision's a lot better. We talk a lot about trying to be physical as a running back, not just letting the defense or a defender hit you or tackle you, that you can also deliver a blow. So we talk to him a lot about getting the pad level down. He's a lot faster than he looks.
Quick.
He's 220 pounds, and he's got no fat on him whatsoever.
Wow.
So he is really athletic, and he's hard to bring down, and he's certainly something at running back that we haven't had, at least in the 4 years I've been there. A real true tough, big, good sized running back. So we're really happy to have him, and he's another kid that's done a great job.
Tomorrow night we're gonna. Saturday night we're gonna be there, and I'm excited for the game. For a couple reasons. And you always look at, hey, you got the Titan of the league, the number one, and you got BG playing really, really well going into this game. I like the matchup, but this seems to me that if you guys can slow that game down and eat and get the time of possession you need in the first half, you can make this a game. And a lot of it's going to be up to that offensive line and be able to move the sticks and keep that offense out of sync on the sidelines. That's the way it seems to me. I mean, obviously, you've got a game plan. You can't discuss that in depth with us. But just as a general term, what are your thoughts as far as how you stay in that game the first half and then come out and surprise somebody potentially by the fourth quarter?
Yeah, when you're playing a team that's really good, that's always kind of the thing. Some people might look at them as being the favorite. Everybody's still kind of trying to figure out what they have, too. So it's really early. If you're playing an opponent that's really good, a lot of teams will go into it thinking, what can we do in the first half to hang around, and then can we really make some moves and do some things in the second half?
Right.
For us, it's going to be important to slow the game down, but can we score early on? For us, I think in the last few years that I've been there, if we get in the red zone, can we punch it in?
Right.
We've had a lot of drives, and we had one against Keene this past week where we stall out. You have to make sure you're taking advantage of those opportunities. It's a lot about field position too. Can we do a good job in special teams? Can't stress how important that is. but both teams ran the ball very, very well. And they ran it, even better than we did. So it'll be interesting, but I think it'll be a much, much different game, I think, for both teams than we saw week one. And like I said, special teams taking advantage. Can we win the turnover battle? It's going to be a game where if we're turning the ball over or there's fumbles, it's not going to go very well. So it's just plain smart football.
It is, John. I got to tell you, I've been watching him and pulling for you the last 4 years, and it's just great to see this team coming out this level. You meant a lot to both of my sons. I think you already know that. And they revere you as one of the best coaches that they had, and they really enjoyed having you. You're a player's coach. You really have a high degree of discipline, and it's showing on the field. I wish you the best of luck this season and seasons to come. Just do me one favor. Tell Dad that he's got to bring his wallet because I want breakfast, and it's his turn to pay, and I'm going to be calling him on that. So pass that along for me, will you? But in a serious note, good luck. Good luck with that game plan Saturday night. I'm looking forward to it. I know Nick is as well. It's great to see you again.
Yeah,
Thank
tell
you,
your
Coach.
boys I said hello. You got it.
We will. Appreciate it, Coach. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
again, Coach John Triciani Jr., father, of course, longtime head coach in the area as well, and a friend of Steve, friend
Solid
of ours
coach.
here. Right?
Solid coach, solid person.
BG, certainly they've got some talent, some experience, and seems like they've really got now a culture back in place again, now under fourth-year head coach John Triciani Jr.
BG's playing. Let's remember, BG's playing Salem. Salem's ready to roll. They're in it, and BG is a developing team. Anything can always happen in these games. What BG needs to do is not worry about the WL before the game. They got to worry about playing smash-mouth football and go after these guys, and they've got to move the sticks and get first downs. John's exactly right. And then the second thing, as long as you can move the stick and keep McDonald and Mustafa and that offensive line off the field, and others as well, what they have to do is they've win the time of possession, and then John's exactly right. When they get in the red zone, if they can get there inside the 20, they got to execute. Threes aren't going to get it done. They got to get in there and get 7 points. And if they can do that early on, Nick, they've got an opportunity to anything can happen. But if they come out of that game knowing that they played extremely well, the other teams that they play after that
will take notice.
Will
right?
take notice.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Good stuff. Reminder, we are at Stello Stadium in Nashua Saturday night for that BG Salem affair. That's a 6:30 start. Our coverage gets underway at 6:15 Eastern Time against Salem at BG. Both teams angling for that 2-0 start to the season.
Great matchup.
Coming up, final interview with Interlake's Paul Levine, a man with nearly a half-century coaching experience, joins us next as Interlakes comes back to Manchester, comes back to Trinity, where it all started for Coach Levine over 4 decades ago. We begin to pick his brain next. You're watching FNL Gridiron. It's presented by Beals Insurance.
Our broadcast today, as it always is brought to you by Beals Insurance Agency, with locations now in both Bedford and Londonderry. Whether you need home, auto, or business insurance, Beals Insurance will get you both the price and quality coverage that's right for you. Just call 603-471-9999 or visit BealsInsurance.com to request a free quote and start saving money today. Again, that's BealsInsurance.com. Is your company interested in showcasing your brand to thousands of high school sports fans across New Hampshire? If not, why not? And if so, let's go. Friday Night Lights New Hampshire is seeking sponsorship partners. It's the perfect way for your company to get out in front of the moms and dads who make up our community. Help us help you, and we can grow together. If you're interested in partnering with Friday Night Lights New Hampshire, then email us at FNLNHmedia@gmail.com. That's FNLNHmedia@gmail.com. Join our team today.
Final segment here on FNL Gridiron. You can hear our show every Thursday at 6 o'clock Eastern. We're live here from the Beals Insurance Studios. Nick Anastas with Steve Beals. We've got our final guest on the line. Let's bring him in right now. He's been waiting. That's longtime head coach Paul Levine, now the head man at Interlakes. He joins us now on the eve of a Week 2 battle at Trinity. Coach, good to talk to you.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it very much.
Well, you're one of those household names, Coach, frankly, when it comes to New Hampshire football. Everyone has always had a positive thing to say with the, dozen or so programs you've been affiliated with over the decades. Now you've got a group with Interlakes. Let's talk about that group. And obviously a 30-0 win over Winnisquam is a good way to start the season. But what do you got working? What are you working with up there at the lake? And we'll talk a little bit about the Trinity game in a moment. But just break down the roster here, Coach. Overall, how good of a group can this be at Interlakes Molten Borough in Division III?
Well, I'll be honest with you. This is a very young team. We have only 4 seniors, and last year when I took over the program, there was only 18 kids in the program,
wow,
and only 5 of them were seniors. So it's going to take a couple of years, and I knew that stepping into this place that I was going to do that. Right now, we got our numbers up to 37, which is actually not bad for a couple of years. And of the 37, 25 are freshmen and sophomores. So we got a kind of a young team, and I'm just hoping and praying right now that if I can keep them healthy and keep them going in the right direction, I think, I like to be a contender this year, no doubt. I think every coach wants to contend, and be in the championship game. But I'm being realistic. If we get through this season with a respectable record, beat some teams, like it would be nice to go down to Trinity Friday and pop them off. But they're a good program, and we all know that. So I'm hoping that if I can keep everybody together, everybody moving in the right direction, again, go back to a weightlifting program, I'm hoping that next year all our kids will be with me for, the majority of the team will be with me for 3 years, and that's pretty good. So it's a time thing, and my only problem is my age and time are 2 different directions right now. I'm getting up there. I think when I started coaching in New Hampshire back in 1970, I think I was the youngest coach in the state at that time.
Was that Stevens, Coach? Was that Stevens? Or was that Stevens or Milford?
That was at Stevens, yeah.
Stevens,
and
right.
I loved Stevens. Claremont was they were beautiful to me, and but I was the youngest. Now I think I'm the oldest guy around. I'm not sure. I'm not bragging about it, but I might be the oldest guy in the state. So, but that's all right because I'm keeping busy. I'm keeping happy. Like I told my son the other day, he asked me about my health, and I said, "Listen, Andy, I'd rather die doing something I love than staying home and doing nothing." So,
Amen to that.
Right.
Amen to that.
Coach, how do you double the numbers in only 2 years? How do you basically build a program from scratch, build it back up anyway, to the point where you've got kids interested in playing football? How do you do that in such a short amount of time?
Well, I think you got to take the kids you have that coming back, and you got to treat them and get them to work out in the weight room, and let them know that this weightlifting room is going to be the means of success. And then it kind of trickles down to somebody that lives, in the cafeteria. That hey, maybe this guy, maybe I can help out a little bit here and there. So it's kind of word of mouth. But I'll give you my biggest secret, and it's no secret, but 11, 12, 13 years ago, I was here, and I was only here for 3 years, and we were state champs 2 out of 3 years. So I think when word got out that Paul Levine was interested in coming back into coaching, I think a lot of the parents remember, and I think they started thinking, well, you know what, maybe my little son Johnny we'll get something out of this. So that had something to do with it. But
That's a fact.
I think just being positive and with the kids and letting them know that if they work hard, we can be good. And that's what the word of mouth is out there now. So I'm hoping, and we just started the junior high program just last year. And last year we had something like 28 kids in the junior high program. This year we got 42 kids. So
Wow.
I think interlates, no matter if I'm here or not, I think you're going to really see us get up there and be a contender. And that's what I want to do. Just be a contender every year. Just have a chance of making the Final Four.
Coach, you've been in the game, as you just mentioned, for over 50 years now. Where does that passion come from? Was that always kind of the goal, always kind of the vision to be a head coach and then coach as long as it was feasible? Or is that something that the love kind of built up and grew as the years went on between you and the passion of coaching?
I think it started when I was in elementary school, 7th, 8th grade. My brother Richard and myself, what we did is we didn't have Pop Warner back then, and so I got to watch TV a lot, and I saw this football game. I loved it. Hey, so we started getting for Christmas one of those plastic helmets. If you hit real hard, they would shatter on you. And we actually had one face mask, which was fantastic back then. And for some reason, I just got kids in the neighborhood to join me, and we started off at 5 or 6, and then pretty soon, we had about 11 or 12 kids in the neighborhood, and we called ourselves the Hooks and Raiders. Imagine that, the Hooks and Raiders. And we actually would go down to Livingston Park or West Memorial Field, and we'd play some kids down there, and we had a great time. My mother had a station wagon, and she filled the car up with 11 or 12 kids, and we just go. For some reason, I don't know why, but I just started liking football, and I was always trying to get, offensive plays and defensive things, and I don't know what gave me that. And my father was a worker in the auto body business, and he had no sports minded at all. In fact, he only went to the 8th grade, and that was it for him. But he allowed me to do this, and when I got to high school, I played sports, and when I went to college, I played sports, and right after college, I knew I wanted to be a coach. Ever since I was in the 8th grade, I knew I wanted to be a coach, and God helped me out. He gave me good health, and as of right now, I'm 78, and I thank him for giving me a good health, and but coaching has always been with me. I don't know why. I used to watch black and white TV back in the 50s, and I used to always pick for the team that was dark colored jersey. I don't know what color they were. We only had black and white TV back then, but that was it. I enjoyed that, and
3 channels.
Had a good time.
Coach,
I got off beat on that one.
No, you do. We love it. I love it. Nothing is so important to have the historical figures in New Hampshire football involved. You think about Coach O'Reilly and the battles I know personally that you had with Jack Addy. I've been able to talk to players of those games in the old days, and I know a lot more about you than you might realize. And that's
what I'm afraid of. That's what
no. Believe me, and the impact that you've had on players. Young men that have gone on later in their life and have talked about Paul Levine and how he restructured their attitudes in a positive way. You're not afraid of your faith. You don't hide behind it, and that exemplifies itself through different ways. I know and really admire and appreciate what you've done, and we all do, for so many men, and then you're still doing it. You just can't stop. I do want to ask you a quick question, though, and I notice there's a washer and dryer behind it. You don't actually wash and dry the clothes for the uniforms, do you? Just because you're kind of a hands-on guy, do you?
I used to do that in Claremont. Every
that's
game
why I asked.
To wash yeah. But see, that's the difference between John Triciani at Big G. He's in his room downstairs with all his trophy. I'm in my wife's washer-dryer room. There's a difference between age right now.
Yeah, that's true. Another good football coach coming up the ranks. Coach, you're coming back to Trinity, where as a young fella you went to school. And tell us about how that feels, that part of this game as you come up there with your players and come back. Is it nostalgic? How do you feel about it? What can you share with us?
Last year, I had an opportunity to scout Trinity when they played Pelham, and I walked across Deerfield Park into in the center field, and I watched the game from up top because back then you couldn't go into the game because of the virus. And I'll tell you, it was the fall of 1958 is when I played and practiced on that field. It's it's a little different right now, but I think I think we had more dirt than sand than grass back then. But it was an eerie feeling to go back there and watch and see the brand new field. That's a beautiful place now. It's with the lights and stuff like that. So a little jealousy here, but I felt it was really a good feeling to be back at that field. But 1958. I'm not too sure if you were around, Steve. I don't know, but
no, I was 5 years before I was born.
Okay.
I was 63.
Right.
I was 63.
Yeah, that helps me out a lot.
Wow. Coach, as you go into this game with Trinity, they do a lot of things well. And they kind of throw two offense at you. They throw a spread at you, and then it goes right back into the kind of a T formation again, and tries to run it down your throat. Coach Cathcart seems to have found a comfortable place there, and he's doing a good job down there. But that play action that they call when they get you sucked into the box seems to be an area where they gain a lot of yardage, and they can kind of break the spirit of the teams that I've seen them play so far. What is your game? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
I was just going to say that's the thing about the T. It puts you to sleep. They just keep hammering off tackle up the middle, little sweep, hammering, and then after a while you get so to the point where you just want to just kill them and stop them, and all of a sudden whoop, there goes the pass, and one pass, and that's it. It's over. So. And I think
defensively, what do you have to do? What do you have to do, Coach, defensively to try to keep in this game as far as the defense is concerned? Your defense.
Well, I think defensively, what you have to do is you can't give multiple assignments to people. If they're running a T, and they run a true T, you got to put each player in a position, and that player has to do just one job. If you give them two jobs, they're gonna kick your butt. Right? Yep. So ever since I've gone against Jack Gaddy and all the Trinity coaches that ran the T, I learned a lot back then. And one thing I learned was you got to have one assignment to that one kid, and he's got to do his job.
He's got to blow it up.
There's nothing else. You can't find a football, so you might as well tackle the one guy that you're responsible for. If the other guy tackles the other guy, and then so on. So I've had good success against the team lately that run the T, but I haven't gone against Trinity in 18 years. So, but I think we're ready for them. Again, it still comes down to. I think their quarterback is quite a little scrambler, and he's a left-handed kid, so that puts the burden on the other side of the field. So we got to contain him, and we got to stop their good running game, obviously. And like I said, the only way to do it is to limit their responsibility and just hope and pray that they do their job. If they do it, we're in the game, and if they don't, then we're out. And if we do a good job and we stop them at T, then we got to worry about the next thing they're going to bring to us, and that's going to be the spread. And then that spread brings all this other stuff that you got to. So when you're defensing Trinity, you got to have 2 weeks, 1 week for the T and 1 week for the spread. But,
on the offensive side, though, Paul Levine is all about clock. You're hungry to control the clock with your offense on the field. That's always I've watched you. If you're doing that, you're really hard to beat. Do you see that as a big factor in this game coming up?
I see that I think we're both the same. He runs a team, wants to run the clock, and I'm a time-consuming guy.
Definitely.
I wish I get teased a lot by some of my peers. Hey, Levine threw 3 passes this week. Pretty good. That's good. He's opening up the offense. I always thought ever since I joined Claremont that the more passes you throw, unless you got a great quarterback, the more chances you have of losing the ball. I'd rather just go 3 downs. All right, it's 4th and 2, 4th and 3. Where I'm at, all right, I'm not very far out. So, hey, I'm going to punt the ball. What the heck? We'll play defense, get the ball back again. And I hope that philosophy is hard, but I try real hard not to make any mistakes on offense so that I can let my defense play the game. And then hopefully something's going to break, something. And that's where you got to pray that your kids are well-trained.
Coach, I've always loved Coach Levine, but I like Mr. Levine even better. The person. You've been an inspiration to me. You've came in at it, and helped out our youth program to get that started off the ground. And without you, I don't know as it would have been nearly as successful as it was. I'll always be indebted for that. But the person behind there and what you try to do with young men is really at the end of the game far more important than wins and losses. And you've had a lot of wins. So I wish you luck. We're going to be there tomorrow night, and I know Nick and I and Ben and John and the whole team of Friday Night Lights are excited to be that game, and hopefully we can even get you after the game or something like that, but if we can. But best of luck to you, and I'll hand it back to Nick on that one.
Coach, thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me, and I think you guys are doing a great job with this. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you, Coach. Good luck tomorrow night, and again, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again.
Take care, Paul.
That's Paul Levine, a treasure. And someone you've had the privilege of working with. He's touched countless amounts of players
and he's
throughout 50 years.
There have been times, I wasn't a player, obviously, for him, but there have been times along the way. He takes football very seriously, and he wants it done right, and he wants discipline involved. And I'll tell you, he's not afraid to chew anybody out. I went up to him and a couple times there and asked for advice, and he's going to give his straight shot right to you, and that's the kind of coach he is. You talk to the people that he's coached many decades ago, and they'll always. You mentioned Paul Levine, a big smile comes across the face of what he's done for so many men, and what better legacy in life to have than that? And he's still going at it.
Very impactful for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of legacies, Patriots all-time rusher Sam Cunningham passed away this week. Steve, I know he was one of your idols and inspirations in terms of football, at least growing up, right?
As a football and as a man, this guy, Sam Bam Cunningham, if you're my age, 58, and you love the Patriots, you knew the Patriots back in the old days when the Sullivans owned it, and I'll tell you, you didn't have a lot to cheer for, but you still went out there and watched them because if you were a Patriots fan then, you're sure as heck a Patriots fan now.
Right.
I mean, Sam Bam, along behind John Hanna, just an incredible athlete, USC All-American fullback, College Football Hall of Fame, Rose Bowl MVP, 11th pick by the Patriots, and remained there for his entire career. And what was he at? 1,385 carries. I checked today. 5,453 yards for the Pats. That's for the Pats when they were lucky if they win 1 or 2 games, or for a lot of those seasons. 43
and it
touchdowns.
Still stands as the all-time,
still the
high
all-time
water mark, right, for the Patriots.
In the Patriots Hall of Fame. Absolutely good man. I think he went down. Was the U.S. when USC went down to Alabama with an all-white football team. And USC went in there, and his grace in the way, but yet strength at the same time, was a major force in integrating Southern football, and had an impact on recognizing that it's the content of the character and your skills that make you a man, not color your skin or anything, or your ideology or anything else. Sam Bam represented that. It's a great loss to the Patriots community, his family, all of his people that knew him deeply respect him, and I did as well.
Yeah,
I'll miss
absolutely.
him.
Sad day earlier this week when he passed away. All right. We want to thank our guests for coming on. Roger Brown, of course, always solid intel from the New Hampshire Football Report. He's also a senior leader at the New Hampshire Union Leader. We thank him. We thank Rob Cathcart as well. He'll be going heads up against Coach Paul Levine tomorrow when Trinity hosts Interlakes. We appreciate those guys coming on with us. Of course, Aidan Mcdonald, bright future,
Bright
good
future,
kid,
great kid.
Maybe even better player. He's outstanding and certainly one of the top threats across the state. Salem lucky to have him. We were lucky to have him tonight. Join us on the program, of course, John Triciani, trying to figure out how to stop him for BG when they face off Saturday night. Final programming note, we're on the air again tomorrow night at 6:45 in advance of the 7 o'clock kickoff. Interlakes at Trinity. Big early season D3 matchup. We'll be there in the Queen City. And then on Saturday, right back at it at 6:30 Eastern when Salem visits BG. Our broadcast on Saturday gets you going about 15 minutes or so before that 6:30 kick at about 6:15 Eastern time. Steve, your final thoughts.
I can't wait to get in that Trinity field and be out there. And John had done a lacrosse game with you and Roger.
Yep.
And John said it was a fantastic place to do a game. Looking forward to being by your side and doing that. And then that BG game on a Saturday night at Stello's. All those Saturday night games, I remember myself going to watch my sons play there, and it's just a special time on Saturday night when BG's playing. They got Salem coming to town. Going to be a great football. I love the lineup we got this week, and really excited about that. And so that's all I got to say right now. It's going to be we'll see what happens next Gridiron when there's further stratification as we see the performances of so many of these teams.
Yep.
So it'll be great to see.
We'll be right back on air next week as well here with FNL Gridiron Thursdays at 6. For our director, the man behind the curtain, Ben Beals, my partner, executive producer, Steve Beals. I'm Nick Anastas saying so long. This has been FNL Gridiron presented by Beals Insurance.